Human cultures have been linked to the use of mind-altering substances for thousands of years, with many unique stories to tell. Let's take a look at Hinduism, probably the oldest religion in the world. It may seem like a colorful fantasy, right? Soma, a godly substance, is to blame for this. It was said to provide heavenly strength and spirituality to the founders of the religion. What Soma was made of is still a mystery, but we know about many other drugs that have been used for millennia. Today, let's explore the most intriguing group, psychedelics, hallucinogens causing dramatic change in perception, mood, and consciousness. So, what happens when someone takes psychedelics? They affect serotonin, receptors in the brain that influence various processes like aggression, anxiety, appetite, mood, nausea, and sleep. Think of serotonin like a key, and the receptors in your brain like locks. Normally, serotonin floats around, fitting into these locks to send messages. Psychedelic chemicals are like keys that resemble serotonin, so they also fit into these locks. But once they get in, they send very different messages, making the brain behave in unusual ways. Now that we've got the basics, let's look at some concrete examples. The first example is Syrian Rue, originating from the Middle East. Like many plants we'll mention, it was used both in spiritual rituals and in folk medicine. Its seeds were traditionally burned as incense in Central Asia and Persia. The smoke was believed to ward off evil spirits and protect homes. The plant has many uses in different regions. In Egypt, it was known as a love potion. In Uzbekistan, medicine for 1,000 diseases. And in India, it was used as a hallucinogen. According to legend, the plant, known as Harmala, was once a wicked woman. Her husband punished her for her treachery by turning her into a foul-smelling bush that even donkeys avoid. The bush was named after her and became a symbol of betrayal and punishment. When combined with other plants, the effects of Harmala resemble the composition of ayahuasca in the Amazon. Let's take a look at this magical potion next. Ayahuasca is a drink made from plants and is tied to many stories through history. It is said that the plant has its own will. If it feels disrespected, it can punish users by giving them dark and terrifying visions. The drug is said to have a guardian, a serpent spirit. According to the myth, every user must undergo a serpent trial, a hallucinations where snakes tests the user's courage and purity. One of the plants in ayahuasca, Psychotria viridis, contains DMT, the main psychoactive compound, while another plant has specific inhibitors that allow the DMT to be active. This combination is still a mystery to scientists and historians. How did indigenous people discover such a complex chemical balance without modern science? DMT is a mysterious substance, not only found in psychoactive plants, but also naturally occurring in the human body. Scientists have found small amounts of DMT in the brain and speculate that it may play a role in experiences such as dreaming or meditation. There's even a fascinating hypothesis that during death, DMT production increases rapidly, which might explain near-death experiences, intense visual perceptions, a sense of leaving the body. But why? Maybe to bring peace in the final moments. Or perhaps there's something more to it? Now, let's head to Africa. African dream bean is known as the dream seed, traditionally used to induce lucid dreaming and deep spiritual connections. People believed they could communicate with ancestors and predict the future. The large, hard seeds are iconic and are often worn as amulets. In some cultures, tea made from this plant was used in rituals before hunting to help hunters dream of where to find the animals they sought. Wormwood has a long history in Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. It has been used for healing and in the production of absinthe. Wormwood became known for its connection to creative minds, like Vincent van Gogh, as he probably used it during creating his arts. In the Middle Ages, wormwood was believed to be a key defense against evil spirits and witchcraft. It was placed on graves to prevent the dead from returning to the world of the living. In ancient Rome and Greece, it was burned during divination rituals. Almost everyone has heard of the wild effects of cacti, especially in Latin America. There are many types of cacti, and their history goes back millennia. Let's look at Chavín de Huántar in Peru. This famous archaeological site from around 900 BC contains carvings of the San Pedro cactus. Reportedly involved shamans who used San Pedro to guide group ceremonies in dark temples, where sound effects, like water instruments, enhanced the hallucinations. Participants reported visions that were later interpreted as messages from the gods. These rituals helped determine important decisions, such as when to plant and harvest crops. The Peruvian cactus was even used as a judicial tool. The accused and the accuser would drink a brew made from this cactus, and under its influence, they would experience the truth, revealing their guilt or innocence. Shamans, under the influence of the cactus, reportedly could even predict volcanic eruptions or earthquakes. Peyote is one of the most famous cacti and is still legal for religious purposes within the Native American Church, making it one of the few psychedelic plants with official religious status in the US. Let's finish today's video with Salvia Divinorum. It contains salvinorin A, the strongest natural hallucinogen, which works differently from most psychedelics. Here's what some people experienced after using it.
It felt like the longest 5 minutes of my life, like eternity. I thought I was a book on a shelf. I kept thinking, oh no, no one will ever read me. I thought I was made of Lagos, and then I thought I was a house with my friends living inside me. I couldn't handle anything for about 5 minutes.
I woke up as a man in his 30s in a completely different life, recovering from an overdose. I had vivid memories of my real life, but in this world I had a family, responsibilities. Spent a year adjusting, 30-year adjusting. 30 years later, as an old man, I found a box in my attic with items from my life, including the salvia. I smoked it again, and in an instant, I was back in my bathroom at 19 trying to process 30 years of experiences in 4 minutes.
Salvia is unique because its active substance, salvinorin A, doesn't act on serotonin receptors, but on kappa-opioid receptors. These receptors interrupt communication between different areas of the brain, which is why people can lose the ability to connect sensory information and control their perceptions. Users can feel as though they are out of their body, or even become objects, experiencing shifts in their sense of space and time. A forgotten legend from the Mazatec region claims that salvia is the embodiment of a goddess who once laughed at humanity. This laughter, supposedly contained in the plant, makes the user lose their footing, literally and metaphorically. Interestingly, many of these drugs are now available in Western countries as seeds or plants marketed for collecting purposes, even though their use is illegal. So technically, if you grow salvia and dried leaves fall onto your windowsill, you've committed a crime. Strange, right? What do you think about this legislation? Anyway, stay tuned for the similar video about mushroom killers. After all, there's a thin line between a drug and a poison.